Good morning and welcome to Kivumbi 2017 with me, Michelle Ngele. Now, the National Super Alliance last night beat the deadline for the filing of its presidential petition challenging the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. NASA lawyers managed to file the petition shortly before the midnight deadline. The opposition alliance had only until midnight to file the petition. More than 15 lawyers have been hired by the opposition NASA to make their case. The NASA team wants the August 8th presidential elections nullified over alleged irregularities. NASA presented 20,000 documents it says are evidence of malpractices in the election. The opposition is now expected to serve both the IEBC and the Jubilee Party in the coming 2 days. Once served, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission as well as the Jubilee Party will file their responses.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther Nyayaki, the Registrar of the Now, which is why I'd like to walk you through the process we're going to follow to accept this document which have been presented this evening. We will start by verifying that they're in order and that they meet the guidelines of the rules. Thereafter, our staff will assess the court fees that is payable with the petitioner, and then I will lodge, sign the documents, and they will be lodged and filed properly.
Meanwhile, NASA principals were also at the Supreme Court last night where they exuded confidence that they will win the case this time round. Raila Odinga, accompanied by his running mate Kalonzo Musyoka, said they have gathered enough evidence that will lead to the nullification of the presidential election. Let's now listen in to what Raila Odinga had to say.
We have had to work very hard over this period of time to compile our petition. It has been received by the Registrar of the High Court and stamped
the Supreme Court.
Registrar of the Supreme Court at 11:32 p.m. and as registered as the presidential petition number 1 of 2017. This petition is over 20,000 pages long, containing all the evidence that we have been able to gather, showing clearly that Uhuru Kenyatta did not win this presidential election. We have now left the matter at the hands of the Supreme Court, and we expect nothing less than justice in the Supreme Court. So the rest is going to be handled by our lawyers during the hearing of this petition. This petition is going to be historic. It's going to determine the future of our country. And as we said, that we will then reserve our other rights. We don't want to say anything more than that. The matter is before in the hands of the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Well, reporter Duncan Haemba was at the Supreme Court last night when NASA filed the petition and now joins us by way of phone. Haemba, it was quite late into the night, about 15 minutes to the close of that deadline, and NASA came in with evidence that was obviously shocking to those who were there in volume, of course, 25,000 pages, they said. Talk to us about the events of last night.
Yes, Michelle, it was quite an evening, of course, after having kept the public, the country, and the members of the Fourth Estate waiting an entire day. Then shortly at 10:30, we saw vehicles driving in at some top speed. Of course, they were hooting with hazards on. Then that was the first batch. They came in 3 groups. So the first batch that arrived. Perhaps they came at top speed, maybe to make a statement that they were on their way coming. Of course, we saw documents being pulled from the vehicles and being rushed into the Supreme Court or the judiciary's registry. When we thought we've seen enough of it, another group again drove in moments later with the same. Before the final batch that was led by NASA principals, Raila Odinga also walked in carrying his bunch of evidence around 7 of them, of course, tied, and Kalonzo Musyoka was in tow, then Musalia Mudavadi. So it was quite a spectacle, so to speak. But as they said in a poster interview, their lead counsel, I presume, Senator James Orengo, said that they have gathered over 25, or they presented over 25,000 pages of evidence, and he said 10% of that volume constitutes their pleadings, but 90%, according to Orengo, it's purely evidence. And in terms of that evidence, Orengo says that much of it, of course, it's the data analyst that has examined over 25,000 results forms for voter declaration, and detected that analysis who actually detected that about 14,000 of them had errors that range from statutory documents not signed by returning officers, others not authenticated by official rubber stamp, others no agent names. Those are some of the anomalies they say that they detected, and after doing a careful analysis, they found that they were erroneous. They are also saying that some of the forms show that in some instances the presiding officer's name in charge of elections appearing in multiple polling stations at the same time. And interestingly, according to Rengo, who we understand could be the lead counsel alongside Ben Sihanya and Njamba Kitong, and I hear as well as former Attorney General Amos Wako, who's also CIS Senator-elect. Actually, they said that over 25 lawyers were actually involved in preparing this particular petition, which roughly indicates that maybe each of those lawyers produced 1,000-page document or report, and that translates as to why they are talking of 25,000 pages. So those are some of the issues, and as I've said, Orengo said that only 10% constitutes their pleading. 90% of those voluminous documents that you've seen are purely evidence, which means if there could be any aspect of the 25,000, they've done their preparations well, then maybe 2 or 3 instances might hold water, but we are not so sure whether that will be reason enough to have things go their way, because when you look at their statement, their closing remarks, the statement they shared with the media, NASA says they want the Supreme Court to do one thing: nullify the results and call for a fresh election. Michelle.
And of course, we can see that evidence on the screen, quite bulky. But what next now after filing of this petition?
Yes, Michelle, quite a number of things will happen. Now, after that last night, the next thing, as per the law, NASA has to serve the respondents. And in this case, the first respondent is Uhuru Kenyatta, presidential candidate for Jubilee Party, and the IEBC, the body that is at the center of this political storm. Therefore, NASA has from last night until 2 days to serve the respondents, that is Uhuru Kenyatta and IEBC, by tomorrow. Therefore, yesterday, from last night to today, and then tomorrow, they'll have to serve them. And remember that the law is now clear. Initially, you had to look for the respondent and give them that petition in person. But of course, it wasn't easy, citing from other previous instances that we had petitions that were unsuccessful because of petitioners failing to serve their respondents. The law now provides that you can serve the respondents through the media. They have to publish in two leading major dailies of national circulation, and then at the same time you have to send them electronic. You have to serve them electronically. And now, apart from electronically, of course, that could be way of email. But what we are seeing, this is a notice enough to the respondents that we have filed a petition to challenge. So therefore, at least the law has made it easier. Therefore, whoever watched last night, the president knows he's been served because of what he saw on TV, what they've heard on radio, and this morning, definitely, this particular petition could be in the dailies and as well as having been sent to their respective offices. So from yesterday to tomorrow, they'll have to send these petitions to the respondents. And then from there, the respondents will have at least 3 or 4 days to go through that particular petition. So Jubilee and IBC will have to comb through or to go through these 25,000-page documents that NASA has tabled. Then from there, around Thursday, there will be a status conference. Now, the purpose of that status conference, Michelle, will be to have all parties now meet and agree on way forward, or how do they go about. For instance, they have only 13 days to do this. Actually, 14 days after the filing of that petition. So how long are they going to look up these 25,000 plus documents, then cross-examine, then have the judgment actually delivered? At the same time, they'll have to agree at the timelines or the duration that each party will be given to prosecute their case. Therefore, those are some of the issues that will take place when that status conference takes place, perhaps on Thursday, which will also give room for the 7-judge bench at the Supreme Court to determine who else will be enjoined. The other parties that are interested to decide that who else can be enjoined. So that is what will happen on Thursday after the respondents, IBC and President Uhuru Kenyatta, they've gone through this. So Thursday they'll have a status conference which will agree way forward. Therefore, we do expect the matter or the case to get proper underway from Friday. That is now when the judges will now start going through after having gone through that status conference on Thursday. Michelle.
So that is our senior political affairs reporter, Duncan Haemba, who was at the Supreme Court last night on the opposition coalition. NASA gave their petition to the Supreme Court. And as it stands, NASA will have to serve the respondents, which in this case is the